Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts.
Hello everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
And I'm Z Garcia.
And today we're taking a look at a game called The Guild of Merchant Explorers.
What a name.
I have played this many times, and I still have to look at the box because I can't remember the name.
Correct.
Not particularly memorable.
No.
Yeah, it really is.
Title.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the title. We'll talk about the game in a second. It's from AEG, though, and the designers are some of your favorites.
Absolutely. Matthew Dunstan, Brett J. Gilbert, who often work together, though not exclusively. They've made a lot of games.
Yes.
They're fairly consistent in making good games.
I agree.
They're not always great games, right? But I think they are a very consistent couple of designers.
Yes.
Well, how would you describe this in a sentence?
Rolling right with cubes.
Okay, I accept that.
That works.
That works for me.
All right, well, here's more than a sentence.
In the game, each player gets the same map. There are 4 different maps that are included with the base game. Some of them have some special rules, like this one has some extra tokens that are needed for it. But everyone plays with the same map, and you're each going to get a bunch of colors of your choice, which are going to include cubes and then little villages of your color. Now, the game is going to take place over 4 rounds, and in each round, these 5 cards are going to be in the mix, and you're also going to add the 1 card to the first round to the deck, and the second round, both these cards will be in the deck, the third round, all 3, and the fourth round, all of these cards. You're going to shuffle all these cards together, and then, one at a time, you're going to draw one of these cards randomly, and place it, and then each player is going to do whatever that card says. They're pretty simple. This one here lets you put a cube on a mountain space. This lets you put it on 2 desert spaces, 2 plains spaces, 2 spaces that are adjacent to each other, but they can be anything, and then 3 oceans, up to 3 ocean spaces, but they have to be in a straight line. Now, when you're placing these cubes, at the beginning of the game, you're starting from this central spot here. So if I put out 2 sand spaces, maybe I'll put one there, and I'll put one here. Your first one has to be adjacent to that. After that, they can be adjacent to anything. So for example, if I got 2 plain spaces, I might place one here because it's adjacent to my starting city, but I also might place one here because it's adjacent to the cubes I already have on the board. What you're trying to do with these cubes is a few things. For each one of these coin spaces, or double coin, or triple coin, or whatever, you're going to get these coins, which are worth points at the end of the game. You're also trying to fill in complete areas that are all the same terrain type. So for example, if I place 3 cubes here, I filled in all these grasslands area here, and I'll be able to take one of the cubes off, which is on a regular grassland, has no coin, has nothing else on it, and I'll put a village there instead. Now, this is good for a couple reasons. One, you're going to score points depending on what round it is, what era it is. So at the beginning, they're worth 1, but they're worth more as the game goes by. Secondly, at the end of every era, you take off all your cubes from the board and you start over again. But in the second era, if you have a village on the board, I can start from there. So let's say I get 3 ocean cubes in a row, I can start right from there, which allows me to expand farther. You're also going to find ruins on the board that look like these shipwrecks and things like that. When you go on top of a ruin, you're going to draw the top card of the ruins deck. These could just be straight points, set collection points, points for having various things on the board at the end of the game, or they might let you immediately put a cube out on the board in any space that's adjacent to a cube you already have. You can only do these once per game, so you'll put this little token here to show that you found the treasure chest on top of that to keep you from going there again. A couple other things on the board. We have these trading posts. So if you connect a bunch of trading posts in a line, so let's say I connect these 2 trading posts here together. Now I'm going to look at the value of each trading post. This is a 2, this is a 3. I multiply those together and get 6 points. I then pick one of the 2 trading posts and I'll cover it up with that terrain type. So this one's desert. And so that trading post can't be connected again, but the other ones still could be. And then finally, we have towers on the board. And towers are wild terrain. When you go into a tower, instead of placing one of your cubes there, you put a tower in that spot. And towers, the first one's worth 6, then 8, then 10, then 14. So you can see they're pretty valuable. Not only that, there are going to be 3 cards that are next to the board for whatever map you have. Each map has 6 cards attached to it. You put these 3 out. The first person to do it, so for example, discover villages on 3 different lands, we'll put a cube there to get the 10 points. Everyone else who does it after that will simply get 5. But we're still not done yet. So the most interesting part of this game here, I mentioned all these different terrain types, a single mountain, etc. But you also have these Roman numerals, 1, 2, and 3. When players draw the 1, each player is going to take 2 cards off this deck and look at them, and you're going to pick one of these cards. When you pick that, you're going to place it in the slot next to your board at number 1, and you get to do it. These cards are pretty awesome. Like this says, explore up to 1 desert, 1 grassland, 1 mountain, and 2 sea spaces in any order. This one's 1 grassland and any 3 connected to that in a straight line. A desert, and then the 5 spaces adjacent to that. 2 mountain and 3 grassland. 4 grassland, and all the coins you score this turn are triple. So in the future, in round 2 and 3 and 4, when you draw 1, you're going to do that action again. When you draw 2, you'll draw 2 more cards, pick 1 and put it there. You draw 3, pick 1 and put it there. In the 4th round, when this card comes up, the 1, 2, or 3, you can pick which one of these to do. But you're going to get to play your number 1 card 4 times, this one 3 times, this one 2 times, and one of them an extra time in the final round. So that's it. At the end of the game, you're going to add up any endgame scoring points, which are mostly from the treasure chests that you've collected, and whoever has the most points is the winner. Okay, so we talked a lot actually internally about the components, because for me, it feels the slightest bit off.
Yes.
But I don't know. I can't think of a solution that's not incredibly expensive. For me, the best solution would be have a double layer board where the cubes all sat in their own individual spots.
You know what I want? I want the tapestry boards. They're kind of sandpapery a little bit, and then the pieces are slightly gummy so they don't bump around. Like, that's what I want out of this.
Yeah,
it's,
that
like
would also be more
problem.
expensive.
It
though.
would
Yes,
be,
it would be.
but not as. And I think that would be a good middle ground, because it's not a perfect solution. You could still bump the stuff, but it helps with the little easy to, it doesn't take much to bump the cubes.
They can slide.
Yeah.
Is there sandpaper, contact paper that we can put on top of these?
Ooh, I don't know. I'll have to look into
That is
that.
see-through, obviously. That is completely clear.
I did what you
Actual
asked.
sandpaper.
I guess we can't play anymore.
And then people are filing their nails with their
Put
player
clear
boards.
Velcro over the entire thing and just stick the cubes on
So
there.
that being said, about the components here, the maps look fine. I found that it's pretty easy. The card quality's fine. The whole thing has a bit of a muted look, and the little cubes and little tiny villages, they're okay, I think.
The sizing does throw me off a little bit. I do wish the
Yeah.
boards were either slightly bigger or the bits slightly smaller. I don't know.
Well,
Components-wise, I have a slight issue with it.
Putting the treasure chest underneath the cube, I found it to be a little fiddly. And then you pull all those cubes off without pulling off your villages.
Right.
It's the slightest bit messy. Doesn't make the game unplayable.
No, but that at the end of the first game, that was the thing that I was like, gosh, I really wish there was a better solution to this. That
Yeah, I
was the
wish
one
there
thing
was
that
a way
was
to
kind of
fix
like,
that.
ugh.
I agree.
For me, because I often wear my nails slightly longer, like I feel like I would make an even bigger mess with this game.
Oh, I thought you were going to
Just
say you had
having
an advantage because you
Yeah,
could
you could just-
slide in there.
No. Pick them up, drop them. It's a mess. Like, it's gone.
And I guess I will no
This is
longer
very
do that.
susceptible to messing this game up for
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
Like if you pick up a cube and it falls back out of your fingers and moves things around, that might not be recoverable.
But while we're on the topic of components, the reason why I think we're talking about this is that that's the only thing that really makes it not a roll and write. You could easily have made this a roll and write game. Am I off base on
Sure,
that?
I just wanted to have erasing everything, but yes.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that's what sets it apart, is that it has the design space of a roll and write, but it has the components of a Euro.
Right.
You see what I'm getting at? And I think if it was just a quarter-size box of this with roll and write, I don't know that it would have the same impact.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does feel good to be putting out cubes, to be sort of seeing your color spread, and then you have to cull it, and you start again from new places. It has that rhythm of sort of an exploratory sort of feel, like I've conquered a new place. I can begin from here now. Yeah.
Now, that being said, I think let's talk about gameplay.
Yes.
Gameplay here is very interesting. Like many of these games, it's not like a roll, right? It's a flip and right, and you know exactly what cards are coming up.
Yes.
I'd be like, okay, I know the next 2 cards are going to be one of these 2 things. And the order feels so critical. Like, oh man, I sure hope sand comes up next.
Or I need to get across that ocean before I can expand to anything. Yeah.
But the gimmick of the game, and not the gimmick, but the thing that sets it apart, is the fact that you have that card, and then eventually 3 cards, that no one else has. That automatically adds a point to me in any game where you give me something that no one else has. And those cards all feel amazing.
They're huge.
Yeah, that's the hook of this game, is that because you get a certain number of cards to look at and you're choosing one. And this is one of those games where I wanted every single card that I saw. And then I looked at the deck afterwards. I'm like, there's not a bad card in these. And that's a really not as easy to do as it sounds. You know what I mean? Usually you're like, yeah, this is situational. This might be good. Every single one of these cards I wanted. You know what I mean?
And I don't think I've seen that in another roll and ride or flip and ride or whatever in this kind of game. You know, the idea of, yes, your board will evolve differently because of the choices you made or you began in different places or whatever. But this idea that you develop special abilities that are triggered from a common card flip, but then on that number, or the number 2 or the number 3, then we all get to do our own personal thing we've developed. You slowly branch out more and more with how different you are. It's a great gimmick. It's a really cool twist.
I really like it. Have you played multiple maps on this?
Yes.
Because I think that it's interesting, too, how, like, I played a gem one where you had to go around and get gems, and the more gems that you had, you added all the previous ones before. I appreciate that the maps do feel a little different. There's some areas that are harder to get to in one, so I appreciate that there's that variety as well.
They also made a mini expansion, which I have in here, that had 2 more maps and more stuff, and that's like, wow, this game has some expansion room to it, which
definitely.
I like.
A whole lot, yeah.
What did you think about the point scoring? So I don't know if any of you, I've yet to see someone put 4 towers out. I keep hoping.
Yeah.
I want it to be me. That's pretty tricky.
Sure.
But you can go for the trading routes. There's a lot of points there. You can go for a lot of villages.
Right.
And you can try to get those 3 scoring cards, because 30 points is not nothing in this game.
Right.
To get those before other people. Did you feel like it was balanced? You feel like you have multiple options?
Yeah, I think both of those things are true. I also found the scoring fairly derivative, I guess is the best way to put it. The scoring is not the thing that made me go, this is interesting. The scoring was sort of a means to an end.
Right.
The gameplay and those unique cards and all that stuff was fun. And then at the end, it's like, what did I get? Okay, I lost, I guess. I didn't really find it that interesting. I don't know.
I tend to like objectives that everyone's working towards, but it's a race, because it points you in a direction, and especially because, except for your super awesome player power cards, you're starting with the same everything. It's the same map, it's the same of all that. So I appreciate to be able to see, like, oh, I'm going to go for this particular objective and I'm going to race there. And I don't know, I like that. I find that that's enjoyable.
This is a feel-good game, one of those games that kind of just give you positive reinforcement every single turn. You know, a lot of times with games like these where you're kind of hoping for a particular thing to show up on a flip, if that doesn't show up, you feel kind of let down, deflated. This isn't that type of game. It's like every card is going to be good. There might be one you're hoping for to come up, but I never felt like there was a dead turn. I never felt like there was a time where I was just like crushed because of a card flip. And that is another thing that I think this game pulls off, is just like everything you're doing, you feel like you're heading towards a goal. You know what I mean? Even if you have to adjust on the fly.
Right.
So
the reason I asked about scoring is because I think the weakest part of scoring, I think the treasure cards aren't that interesting.
That's probably true.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're like, I'm going to go for treasure, they don't give you a lot of points.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you get that full set, you could have easily hit 2 towers by that point for more points.
Sure.
The 2 coins, put out an extra cube. They're nice. I just wish that deck was a little more exciting.
Okay.
The extra cube can be huge because you can get another location that is not a terrain type that you have left to put out, and so you can get something big there, like a trade route or something like that. But it is very situational, and you're not sure what you're going to get. And so you're like, oh, I want to do the set collection with the pots thing, and then all you get are cubes.
Yeah.
And you need to know, like, if you know the mountains or whatever have already come out, then you can plan ahead to you can know that, oh, I'm not going to get that again. None of my special cards do it. The one that's in there has come out. if I want to cross over this hump here, I got to do it another way. I need to figure out another way to do that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, what's your final thoughts and rating?
Well, I think that this game is in a very crowded space right now. There's a lot of games that do this type of thing, flip and right type of a scenario. But I think it does stand out in a few ways. I feel like it is super snappy and quick. Like, this game is like lightning fast, and every turn feels like you're moving towards something. The big hook are those cards, and that is enough to make it stand out, I think, in this space, even with some component issues, box size, even issue size aside. I'm coming at an 8. I think it's a very, very good game, and one that I would choose to play in this space, which is saying something, because at this point I'm kind of getting a little burnt out on some of these types of games.
What about you?
I'm giving it a 7.5. The closest comparison I can make in my head is Trails of Tucana. Much smaller game on actual flip and right, where you are marking up a board. And I find the scoring in that, there might not be anything in that game as clever as those unique player cards.
Right.
But I find the scoring more engaging. I guess I find the turn to turn and the ultimate sort of drive towards the end a little more engaging in that game. But this is very good too. Yes, a couple of minor issues with components. Yes, the game does look bland, I found. But it's fun. It's an enjoyable game. Just at the end, as you're wrapping up, it's like, oh, I got some points from this, and oh, wait, I need to check all 3 of these goals again. Wait, am I close to that one? You start to lose yourself in that a little bit. But I do like it. I would definitely recommend it if you enjoy the flip and right type games. Here's one tackling it a different way. So 7.5.
All right, I gave it an 8, and I feel like the pieces affect me more than it affects you, or bothers me more than it bothers you, because I think I would have given this an 8.5 if it hadn't been so many little pieces, and the treasure, you have to put the treasure down and put your cube back on top, and then you have to flip over the row or whatever, the combination, what are those things called? 4 to a 4. Trade route, thank you. You have to flip over the trade routes, you have to have those down. Like, I was so frustrated with the pieces, and even when I'm pulling it out, like, I'm expecting a roll and write lightness of a game, but then I'm just like opening bag after bag, container after container, pulling out pieces. I just felt like
that might have been me.
So
That's
ruined your experience.
but I think that there was just so much with that I did move it down to an 8 instead of an 8.5. But I really enjoy the decisions in this game. I enjoy the way that it's equal and then it's different as you get those powers. Those powers are amazing. They make you feel so strong, and I love what it's doing in a lot of ways.
Well, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. For me, I had it at an 8.5, but I knocked it a little bit because of the components.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit fiddly. Now, I think the length of the game is great. Feels like it's 30, 45 minutes, and I'm not bored at all because we're all putting cubes at the same time. And then we all pick cards at the same time. It's never like, oh, Z's turn, he's picking cards. All right, well, you pick a card so I can go? Because we all pick those cards at the same time.
Yeah.
That works great, and it solves that problem neatly of don't look at my board.
Sure.
Because yes, that will happen maybe in the first round for half the round. And then and even then it doesn't really happen. So it's fast, it's fun, and I think this one will reach a good audience. I just don't think a lot of people are going to play this when they walk by a table and go, ooh, I don't think that's going to happen as much.
Yes.
But it does fit in their line. If you like their game Tiny Towns, or I'm sorry, Tiny Town, right?
Yeah.
This, I think the people who like that will also like this. That sort of thing.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
there you go. That's Merchants.
No.
The Guild of
Guild.
Merchant Explorers.
There you go.
The name gets a 4 out of 10 from me, but the game is an 8. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
And I'm Z Garcia.
Have fun merchantly exploring.
In your guild.
Joining the guild.
Stuff.